Hi, my name is Sammy, and in this video I'm going to show you how I make my decorated cookies from start to finish by turning the legendary Pokemon Lugia into a cookie. I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so starting out here for our first step, I'm not going to actually show myself doing this, but first thing I always do when I'm making a cookie stencil is I draw out my design on a piece of paper with just pencil. And now that that is done, I trace over it on parchment paper. And then I cut out that design so that I then have a stencil for my cookies. So I can move that paper aside. And I have my cookie dough already rolled out and ready to go. So I'm going to lay my stencil down and press down so it sticks down flat. And then I'm just going to take a knife and cut around this design. I'll probably speed up this process because it's not really anything too exciting to watch. All right, so now that I'm done cutting out the design, I'll just peel away all the extra cookie dough and set it aside to be used for more cookies or to be refrigerated and saved for later. Okay, so the next step is actually optional, but I find it makes it a lot easier to decorate your cookie afterwards with the icing. And basically all you're going to do is you're going to take your knife or whatever you use to cut your dough, and you're just going to press in along the designs that are drawn in on the parchment paper. And this will give you a guide for where to put your different colored icings after your cookie's baked. If you have it done properly, these will stay in place for after you're done. Sorry, words are not coming in my mouth. After the cookie's done baking. So you just go and you gently press, try not to rip the paper, just in case you mess up and need to do it again. You don't have to draw out a new stencil. And just go across all the lines of your design. Okay, so next we can peel away our stencil there, and you can see there's still, the lines are there, but they're not totally clear, so you can, after you remove it, you can just run over them, make them a little more defined, just so it is as easy as possible for your decorating after to have those lines already drawn out for you. All right, and there we go. Our cookie is ready to go to the oven and bake, and I'll see you back when we're ready to decorate. All right, so our cookie is baked and ready to decorate. So while it was baking and cooling, I took the time to prepare all my icing. So I have here 2 different light blues and 1 dark blue. The 2 different light blues, there are different consistencies to allow for outlining and for filling. I also have 2 whites, a black, and a kind of browny red for the eye. So I have all my colors prepared, and I'm going to start decorating. I'm going to start kind of from the background into the foreground, is the best way to describe how I'm going to do it. So, for example, these little kind of fin things on Lugia's back are kind of behind him, so that would be an area to start. So we'll start with the dark blue. And just fill it in. I just did one consistency of the dark blue because the areas I'm doing are so small that one consistency should probably be good enough. For the larger areas, it's better to have two consistencies because you'll have one for outlining and that will hold its shape better, and one for filling in the outline that will spread out more easily and be smoother. That's actually one of my hardest things I deal with is doing the two, with being patient enough to let the icing dry all the way, because I just want to get in and I want to finish it, but instead I should be waiting for different areas to dry before I move on to the next. So the fins there are done. I'm going to go ahead and do the belly here, which is the light blue. So I have my thicker consistency that I'm going to outline with. And if there's a little mistake, it's not a huge deal here because it'll get covered up when I fill it in. And then I'll switch to my thinner icing. Oh, I think I did those backwards actually. Yeah, I did do those backwards. Okay, because currently we're just using one consistency for the belly because I picked up the wrong one first. So hopefully I have enough of this one. So we're just gonna spread it around. So this is what I mean though, like I'm not the best at concentrating on this, and I'll make mistakes like that where I picked up the wrong icing. I actually just am realizing now even my my thin consistency icing here is not as thin as it should be, but we'll make do. We'll just try and smooth it out the best we can. It won't be perfectly flat, unfortunately, because it's not quite thin enough. But we will do our best. I'll grab a toothpick and see if I can smooth it out a little bit more. That's all right. We'll leave it like that. If I have more icing at the end, I'll go over with another layer to see if I can smooth it out some more, thin some out. Okay, so next we're gonna start with some of the white, and like I said, we're doing the background first. I just realized I missed a spot. I want to do blue that's in the background, which is up right here. So we're gonna start with this back wing here. We're gonna take our thicker icing, and we're just gonna do an outline along the wing. So that part's behind the head there. Is this. I'm sorry if at any point my hand is blocking what I'm doing as well, because I'm getting used to filming this, and in a lot of my videos I end up cutting out a lot because my hand is actually blocking what I'm doing, and so you can't really see it. What's the point of having it there to watch if you're just going to see my hand on the screen? And I prefer to use bottles over piping bags. I just find it, for me personally, I find it much easier to use because piping bags require two hands, and with the bottle I can use one hand and like kind of do it as if I'm drawing in most cases. So I'm gonna let that outline dry a little bit before I go back. So I'll start on a new section. We'll do this leg here that's in the background, and we'll just go along the blue there. And for the foot here, I'll probably be able to fill it in with the foot in with my thicker icing. And what I'll do is I'll leave that middle toe there unfilled right now, and I'll come back for it once it's dry, because that'll allow me to do a little bit more dimension to have it look like three toes and not just one single foot, one single toe, I mean. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep going along doing some outlining in some different areas. And okay, so I'm done most of the outlining. The only spot I'm not done is right here around this leg. And that's just because I'm going to wait for this icing to dry before I do that, because I am going to have to go over a little bit to do the leg and the foot. I'm going to have to go over the blue, but all the other outlining is done. So I am going to then grab my my thinner icing, which you might hear me call flood icing. And it's unfortunately in a bigger bottle, which might block some of the screen, because all of my smaller bottles were filled with other colors, and I needed the most of the white anyways, so I used the bigger bottle for that. So I'm going to try my best not to block the screen at all, but if I do, I'm sorry. And I will probably cut some of that out if I do, because watching my hand is not really anything fun. So I'm just I'm filling in that section there, and then I'll move on to the tail here. And you'll see, because this is actually the proper consistency, unlike the blue that I had there, it's just kind of flattening out as I pipe it in. I don't have to put any effort into smoothing it. And that's how it really should be. So I unfortunately made a mistake with the light blue and not having it thin enough, but the white, which is the main color of it, is at least is the right consistency. So the tail is done there. This leg is done except for the toe. Like I said, I'm going to wait for this to completely dry before I fill that in. And then I will move on to doing this wing as well. And again, I'm trying not to block the camera, but I apologize if I do. So I'm just going to fill in that section there first and let that dry, because again, I want that dimension to show. So once this dries, I'll be able to make sure I do the rest of this wing at a lower level, which will then make that one, I don't know what to call it. It's kind of like a finger, but it's part of the wing, a feather, I guess, stand out above the rest. So just deciding which part to do next. I guess we'll start on the head. I can fill in this little section of the wing here. And I'm going to check to see if it's dry enough for me to do the outline on the leg. And I look like I can probably do this last toe here. And what I just want to do is I want to do it so it's a little bit of a different level there. It's a little bit of dimension. I can always go back over with a thicker icing at the end to draw some lines on, but I like to avoid doing that if I can, because it just looks better if you don't have to do that. My personal opinion. So we'll go back here. We'll start filling in up at the top wing. If I have to do lines, I'm going to do white lines, because if you have seen any of my previous videos, my very first video when I went through and had to do lines to make things more obvious, I ended up doing black lines, and I was not a fan of how the black lines ended up looking, especially because I smudged them a little bit too, which did not help things. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do every other feather here, so then I can adjust the size afterwards. And I'll probably fill that in with the thicker icing. I'll decide on which icing I'm going to use after it dries. I'm going to move on and probably start doing the blue around the eye now. So I'm going to wait for that to dry. And I can do the other little kind of spike on his tail here. That's good. I might try to go over that little edge there where with a little bit more white if I can. Let's see if we can fill in this. I'm using the thicker icing to try and keep it to stay up a little bit. it's really just about trying to figure out where you need to use the thin icing and the thick icing. It's something I'm still learning, so I might make mistakes from every now and then and have to try to correct it if possible, and if not, it doesn't end up looking that great, but I'm just trying my best and learning from my mistakes. And I think what I'm going to do is with the thicker icing, I'm going to try and make this a little higher here. Let's see, hopefully that will stay higher. And then we'll fill in the toes. We'll do the same as we did on the other foot where we fill in the 2 outer toes and leave the middle one to do last. And we'll go to the thinner icing to fill in the rest of the foot there. So far I'm really happy with how this is looking. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to leave that one toe to fill in later. This seems to be holding up pretty good. I might need to do a little outline around the finger once it's dry because it did flatten out just a little bit more than I would have liked. But we'll have to see what that looks like when it dries. I'm going to see about doing the bottom of the mouth now, see if I can get that done. And then for the rest, I'm going to have to wait for it to dry and see what extra I need to add in at that point. And we'll see when it's dry how it looks, if I need to draw a line for the mouth or not. I'm hoping not, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm gonna try filling in this last toe. All right, so all the outlining's done, all the main colors are done. All that's left to do is the eye, once the blue part here is dry, and then any outlining that I need to do to just show off any more features of the cookie. So I'm gonna see you back here when this is all dry and ready to do the next steps. So I messed up a little in my recording, and I thought I hit record. Apparently I didn't. So what I did, well, I thought I was recording until I realized it. I had while I was waiting for the cookie to dry, I had smoothed out my blue icing a little bit and went over the belly again. And I just went and had to add a little bit more icing around to smooth out the white icing after that, bring it up to the right level. So that's what I was in the middle of doing when I realized I wasn't recording anymore. And I'm gonna pause my recording now because my dog is outside barking. All right, and we're back. And like I said, I was just going in and filling in with a little more icing to bring everything up to the same level. All right, so I think I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said, I'm just gonna have to go and add a few lines here and there now just to make sure I have the proper dimensions where I want it. So I'm gonna do another quick line just along the leg here. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll move on to doing the eye next. Eyes are a little challenging. I tend to do is I start with the white and then go to the colors up to the black. So the white I'm gonna do on this side of the where the eye is gonna be. Next, I'm gonna move on to the kind of orangish, reddish brown color for the iris. And just do that right here. And with the eyes, I like to do it while it's wet, keep putting color on top of color, because then they kind of blend it kind of falls into each other and it looks more like a real eye rather than like dots of color on top of each other. So then we're gonna do the pupil, which unfortunately I did maybe a little bigger than I would have liked, but that's okay. And then on top of all of that, I'm gonna do a little dot of white for where the light would be reflecting. And I'm just gonna take a toothpick. I'm gonna try to extend the pupil downwards a little bit, make it a little longer. And then I'm going to use the other end to shape the eye a little bit more like I want with just the white. And I mean, it's pretty good. It's not the exact shape I wanted, but it's not bad for sure. So I'm gonna leave this to dry, and I'll come back to you when it's all dry, and we'll see if there's any more adjustments to be made. But honestly, I'm quite happy with how this has turned out so far. So I'll see you back here soon. Okay, so we're it's just about dry here. I added a few finishing touches onto it off camera. So basically just did a few more little lines around on the wings, and I filled in this leg a little bit, just to make it look a little more, I mean, realistic, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word to use. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty much done. What I'll do is I'll take a picture at the end when it's completely done drying, and that'll be at the end of the video for our final product. I'm really, really happy with overall with how this turned out. There's a few things I wish went a little differently, but overall, I think this is probably the best or one of the best cookies I've made, and it was a more challenging one too. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you'll watch some of my other videos. Let me know if you prefer the kind of video where I'm talking, explaining what I'm doing, or if you think it would be better when I have, when I just speed it up, go all the way through, and that kind of thing. And yeah, let me know, and that'll help me decide what I'm going to do for future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more, then like the video, leave a comment, tell me some ideas to do, and subscribe, and I'd really appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.